Assassin's Promise by Thomas Woodward. Chapter 54. Enormous pillars rose to greet us as we climbed the expanse of heavy stone stairs. Tall pillars lined the great staircase. Each statue that capped the pillars depicted strange beasts, captured in smooth, polished jet or dark jade. The reliefs were incredibly expressive, the poses and features of the carved stone beast almost lifelike in their repose. The massive steps were cut into the very rock the city must have been built upon. As we passed a great pillar of rock, I saw a beast whose claws were a full pace long. A gaping maw exposed a double row of sharp dagger-like teeth. The eyes of the creature looked similar to those of a cat, but its sheer size dwarfed any known animal I'd ever heard of. It reminded me of the strange creature I had seen on the side of a vase. It had been among the stores of goods within one of the merchant's tents, when I had been tasked to gather provisions several days ago. The next statue revealed a bird-like head that had been placed on the body of a man. The alien expression its visage held was cruel and unnatural. The arms had ended in strange appendages that resembled a snake's tail. Turning back to my guide, I strove to catch up with him. The oddly garbed figure stepped lightly, as if he held no earthly weight. He moved quickly and did not linger next to the strange and terrible images that met my gaze as we passed each pillar. Hoping to find nourishment, I followed the whisking gold and white robe as we ascended ever higher towards the great domed temple. Now that the full rays of sun hit the inner city, I became aware of a series of carefully placed mirrors which magnified the brilliant golden dome of the temple far beyond what it might have been otherwise. It glittered like a diamond, blinding me. Having lost my hat some time earlier, I covered my eyes with one hand, careful not to stare directly at the dome of solid gold. Strange smells wafted out from the temple itself. Spices and something metallic became evident as we continued to climb. A strange resounding gong could faintly be heard. It must be coming from deep within the massive structure. Catching up with the robed figure, I gestured for him to stop momentarily. "Tell me where you are taking me." My voice sounded hollow and rasping. I struggled to compose myself. "Please, I am starving and cannot go much longer without food to sustain me." An odd twist pulled his head to the side, almost seeming involuntary. He took a moment to focus his eyes at me. The deep green followed my movements for the space of a breath before he spoke. "I will take you. Do not be afraid. You will eat soon." His head twitched for a moment, an impossible movement for a human to make, I was sure. Looking closer at his uniform, I could see very faint feathers etched into the sleeves of his robe. They seemed almost symbolic. Perhaps he was some sort of priest or religious figure among the denizens of the city, if there were any. Gathering my resolve, I pressed on. "I came to seek refuge in your city, but I was not alone. There was another man I was traveling with. He would have been wearing dark clothes. I must find him. Have you seen such a man?" Silence answered me. "Please. I will not be able to find my way to another town. I have no map nor provisions. I cannot stay here, surely." The figure stopped in his tracks. "Is he here? Do you know him? His name is Stannon." "Stannon," the bird-like voice chittered as if tasting the air. I hugged myself, and still disconcerted by the sound that came from the human-like figure ahead of me. The figure's back was still to me. "Stannon," it crooned like a crow. "Yes." The oddness of its voice continued unabated for a while, the pitch and tenor slowly reworking into the utterings of a human tongue. "I have seen this man in a dream many years ago. But how can you be sure of who he giveth, nameth, calameth, who he claims to be?" The strange alien tone had returned to the man's voice, although I was now able to understand most of what he said. "You would bring him here? To us?" A reptilian cast replaced the mad avian twittering when he spoke to me again. Keeping my distance, at least 2 span behind the figure, I responded, "I had no knowledge of the city. It appeared to me in a fever vision in the sand. We were about to expire, having found no city or oasis to quench our thirst. I meant no harm in coming here." I kept a placating tone, hoping not to rile the strange creature's ire, unsure of what response I might receive. The strange twitching returned, the head of the figure nervously moving from side to side erratically, like some great torment held him in its clutches. I moved on in silence, no longer sure whether I would accept the gift of food if it were offered to me. But what choice did I have, truly? Another wave of hunger hit me, stronger than the last. My mind fuzzed from a terrible headache that accompanied the hunger pangs. The constant molten heat of my right arm, where the delicate serpent of fire had been drawn into my flesh, pulled at my consciousness. It had been difficult at first to think clearly through the haze of pain. But, like many things in life, I eventually adapted myself to bear it. The pain was there, always. But I managed to force it into the back of my waking mind. Falling to sleep was harder. Some nights were agony. I had not been able to properly dress the wound. Covering it with bandages had done nothing for it except to increase the pain.